Okay, good morning all. I hope it's audible. Is it audible? Could anybody comment?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. In the last few classes, we have seen the first module. Now we are into the second module. Second module deals with topics like air pollution, water pollution, solid waste management, climate change, carbon trading, and so on. Today we will see the topic air pollution and its effect. Air pollution and its effects is a topic given in the syllabus. There are few positive aspects and there are few confusions about this topic. Uh, the problem is simply they are given the title air pollution and its effects. They haven't given what is the extent to which we have to go into this topic. That is absolutely unclear. And the advantage is that I am sure all of you would have studied air pollution to some extent, some of the elements of air pollution, and you would have heard of it, you read about it, and you would have studied somewhere in chemistry and in other places in the earlier studies. That's what an advantage. Typically, this air pollution is offered as an elective or as a core paper in civil engineering. In most of the cases, it will be an elective, which will be coming in the third year or final year, where this will be covered in around 40 hours. So now the task is that in half an hour, I need to take the essence of it because I've been teaching this course, this subject quite a number of times in the earlier years as a full-fledged subject for undergraduate and postgraduate. But now our scope is very limited. In 30 minutes, we need to take certain things. So quickly, I'll go through it. And at the end, I'll give you some notes also. For the first module, some consolidated notes I have put up in the Google Classroom. You can refer to that. In similar fashion for this also, I'll prepare some notes and give you. For the time being, you can listen to the lecture and take up the PowerPoint. See, air pollution, before we start, a little history about air pollution. In the history of mankind, maybe the greatest invention of all is invention of fire. Perhaps it would have happened hundreds of millions of years ago, but that is the most significant invention in the human history, which made humans to proliferate this extent on the planet. Because as per the origins, they say that human beings would have originated somewhere in Africa, but perhaps the only thing which permitted them to travel across to other colder regions is invention of fire. And with the fire, they could protect themselves from animals, they could keep themselves warm, they could hunt using fire, and they could cook the food with the fire. And it's even said that even the availability of cooked food is something which has led to the evolution or the growth of the human intellect and in human brain. So fire is perhaps the uh, most significant invention in the history of mankind. But along with the fire came the smoke. The side effect of any development is pollution. So along with this invention came the curse, that is smoke. It is air pollution. And in earlier days, also in Roman times, there was air pollution, and because of the burning of coal in the countries like many European countries experienced air pollution. London smog is a perfect example. So Los Angeles smog. So in the winter season, when this entire air pollutants get trapped in a valley, that causes severe air pollution situations. Many people died in earlier years. So there are many episodes of air pollution tragedies in earlier cases. Now coming to our essential requirement, we need to have a definition. So this is one of the simplest and comprehensive definition for air pollution. Air pollution is the presence in the air of substances generally originating from the activities of man in sufficient concentration and sufficient duration to interfere with the health, comfort, safety, and full use and enjoyment of property. This is the typical definition. So basically, you can see that air pollution is a presence in the air of substances. Presence in the air, generally by definition of air pollution, we mean outdoor air pollution, not indoor air pollution. Indoor air pollution is a separate segment nowadays, but now general, this definition is for outdoor air pollution. And these substances originating from activities of man. Usually the air pollutants are originating from activities of man. Of course, air pollutants can originate from nature also. For example, volcanic eruptions, there will be air pollutants, noxious gases, poisonous gases, and soot and fine fly ash. All these things will be causing air pollution, but that is not generally taken up here. And even the pollens of flowers in certain season causes allergy to human beings. That is also a natural origin. So, but these things we don't generally consider as air pollution. But substances generally originating from human activities. Generally, we say anthropogenic origin, from human activities. And the air pollutants has to be present in the air in sufficient concentration and for sufficient duration. Some pollutants may go into the air, but there may not be much of concentration, so it will get diluted and there may not be any consequence to that. In that case, you cannot say it is air pollution. You can call it air pollution provided there is sufficient concentration and sufficient duration, so that it will cause some discomfort to you, or it will affect your health, comfort, safety, and full enjoyment of property. Enjoyment of property in the sense, if there is air pollution, the children cannot go out and play. There is a playground, you cannot enjoy that. So it's a enjoyment of property is prevented by air pollution, or health is affected, or comfort is affected, human safety is affected. So such a situation is called air pollution. And here is a broad classification of air pollutants. I already told you air pollutants could be classified into natural and anthropogenic sources. That is from volcanic eruptions and all natural, and all other human activities from anthropogenic origin. So here we further classify the human activity based air pollutants. Total sources, stationary sources, and mobile sources. Stationary sources, mobile sources. The mobile sources, as you know, it could be automobiles. Line sources means further a highway. Highway, it is like a line in which automobiles are moving, so that entire highway is a line of air pollution. In the shape of the highway, there is a air pollution spreading to the sides. Railways and the channel for vessels. Area sources, motor vehicles in a city, that causes the entire city is polluted. Similarly, stationary sources, point sources, industries, power plants, all these things are point sources which we can pinpoint from where the pollution is coming. Area sources means from an entire area, residential area where you use coal, oil, gas for heating, cooking, or industrial area. And some of the worst polluted air polluted places in the planet is in India, especially the place called Vapi in Gujarat. The industrial district is highly polluted. And where you are burning the solid waste, that is an area where you will get a lot of air pollution. Open burning. So this is a general classification of sources of air pollution. Very simple, self-explanatory. And we'll have a look at some of the major air pollutants. One of the major air pollutants generally we consider is carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide, I'm sure you would have heard of it. Carbon monoxide basically is the result of incomplete combustion. So any organic matter, any fossil fuel, if you burn it completely, carbon plus oxygen, it should become carbon dioxide. And this carbon dioxide, please remember, it is not generally being considered as an air pollutant. You know that carbon dioxide, excess accumulation of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is causing greenhouse effect, global warming, climate change, all these things. Of course, from climate change perspective, carbon dioxide is a villain. We accept that. But generally, carbon dioxide will not cause any health effects for human beings. So generally, that is not considered as an air pollutant. But carbon monoxide is an air pollutant. Carbon monoxide is a result of incomplete combustion of fuels and organic matter. So if it is burned completely, it will become carbon dioxide. If it is not burned completely or incomplete combustion, you get carbon monoxide, especially from automobiles and all. Carbon monoxide, it has got a very high affinity for hemoglobin. Because of that, if you take carbon monoxide and oxygen inside lungs, your body will be taking up only carbon monoxide. Hemoglobin will combine with the carbon monoxide much more readily than oxygen. So your body will get only carbon monoxide, and as a result, carboxy hemoglobin will form and your body will be deprived of oxygen. People will slowly go into coma. That is how you would have seen some cases where people getting trapped in cars, and when exhaust is getting into that, or somebody is sleeping in a car with AC on and exhaust getting in and people dying. It's all because of carbon monoxide. Or inside a house, if you lock all the doors and windows and if you have a stove burning inside, people die. I think few last year or something you would have heard that somewhere in Nepal or somewhere Indian tourists, many of them died because of this carbon monoxide accumulation in the room. So people will slowly go into that sleep and they get into coma and they die. And this is a structure of the lungs. A typical air pollution classes, all these details will come in, but now we don't have the time. But basically, please remember, the ultimate effect of almost all the air pollutants is if it goes into the lungs, at one point it will reduce the capacity of your lungs to exchange oxygen. That is the ultimate effect, what is known as a condition as emphysema. So as a result, when your lungs capacity to exchange oxygen goes down, that result is emphysema. That leads to all health complications. Basically, that destroys your lungs. And ozone is another air pollutant. Generally, ozone is considered as a secondary air pollutant. The difference is that there is a term primary air pollutant, secondary air pollutant. Primary air pollutant means carbon monoxide, oxides of nitrogen. These things are coming into the atmosphere from an industry or from automobile. These are primary air pollutants. When these primary air pollutants present in the atmosphere react to each other, especially in the presence of sunlight and moisture, and they form secondary pollutants. They react to each other and certain other pollutants. One such pollutant is ozone. So generally, ozone is a secondary air pollutant, and the presence of ozone in the atmosphere in the lowest layers is considered as a dangerous level of air pollution. But please remember, we need ozone in the upper atmosphere to protect us from the UV rays. Ozone hole, you would have heard of. But there you want ozone, not at the lower level. If you have ozone at lower level, it is irritating to lungs and it will destroy even materials like rubber. Nitrogen dioxide, it's basically from automobiles it comes in. It's a air pollutant. And sulfur dioxide, again, burning of fossil fuels, especially when you burn coal containing sulfur, you will get sulfur dioxide. And the sulfur dioxide, it could become sulfur trioxide, and it could get dissolved in rainwater. It will become sulfuric acid, and you get acid rain. Of course, the same thing would happen with the nitrogen oxide also. You get nitric acid in the rain, so it will become. It could even contribute to formation of acid rain. Particulate matter means the particles, dust particles in the air. So there are many sources. For example, road, because of the traffic you get dust, but they are somewhat coarse dust. But when you burn something, you get some fine dust that may be still smaller than 2.5 microns. That is a category of particles which we are much worried about, because it will easily get into your lungs. It is also known as PM 2.5. So whenever you read about air pollution by suspended particulate matter, you will see the term PM 2.5 and PM 10. PM 2.5 refers to particles that have diameter less than 2.5 micron. And remain suspended in the air for a long period. That is a significance. So it can be there in the air for a longer time. It can get into your lungs easily because it will not get filtered by your normal mechanism. You know, within the human body, there are a number of mechanisms to filter out dust particles. You got some hair in the nose, which will filter away. And you got some mechanism in the throat, which will push the dust back. For example, if you walk through an area where a lot of dust is there, after some time, you will feel some dust in the mouth because your lungs is pushing out into your throat. You get some dust back in. So there are many mechanisms within you which will prevent the entry of fine particles. For example, if you take something fine dust, you sneeze. It's all natural mechanisms to prevent these dust particles entering into the body. But this 2.5 micron, less than that, finally it will easily get into your, it will evade all your defense systems and get into your lungs. Especially things like asbestos goes into your lungs. It will remain there for a long time, which could initiate even things like cancer. And lead is becoming less important nowadays. Earlier days, in order to avoid knocking in the petrol engines, they used to add lead. Nowadays they don't add that. Engines are modified. Leaded petrol is not there. And another term, air quality index. This is something which you know whether you learn this course or not. But as a layman, you should know air quality index. Nowadays, like weather report, air quality index is also displayed everywhere. So what is the air quality index? Air quality index is basically a combined value which shows how much of air pollutants are there in the atmosphere. And in order for the public, in order to easily interpret, there are some range of values I'll show you. Air quality index as given by the Central Pollution Control Board. It is in line with the international standards. It is 0 to 50 means it is good, 50 to 100 satisfactory, in that range it gives. So please remember, around 0 to 50, 50 to 100, in that range it should be, otherwise something is wrong. And these are the parameters they consider usually for calculating this air quality index. Particulate matter 10, that is particles less than 10 micron, particles less than 2.5 micron, nitrogen dioxide, ozone, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, ammonia, and lead. So these are the ranges they consider in micrograms per meter cube and so on. So once again, what is moderate and suspended particulate matter, what is the range they permit? And these are the maximum and minimum values or maximum values permitted for various things. And this is a formula used for calculating the air quality index. And if time permits, if you are interested, please go through it. Go to the website where you can search in the website air quality index calculation for India spreadsheet. You can get an Excel sheet. So if you insert these values, they will apply this formula, and in the Excel sheet you get the value. And in which category it falls also you will see 117, that is above 100, that is poor. And another interesting thing, these are the usual ranges which they give prescribed in India as residential area and industrial area. Sulfur dioxide 120 micrograms per meter cube. Earlier, now they say 80 micrograms per meter cube. And for oxides of nitrogen, 80 micrograms per meter cube. Particulate matter, 10 microgram per meter cube. Lead, 1 microgram per meter cube. Carbon monoxide, 2 microgram per meter cube. So these are the permissible values. And there are a number of websites which is giving this air quality index calculation. I'll show you one such website. Let me share my browser. See, here is a air quality aqi.in. If you go to that website, you will see the air quality indexes. I hope it is visible to you. Now, if you look at this place, you will see there are some air quality monitoring stations, and values are coming up here. At present, you see Trivandrum, it is 50, and in Cochin it is 22. It is really good. In Coimbatore, it's 30, and Mysuru 20. There are some places, Silkboard, Bangalore, there it is 87 now. And again in Karnataka, it is 87. Here there is an yellow. What is that yellow? Chennai, it could be yellow. And you see in Mumbai, some places it is 61. And in Maharashtra, somewhere again 70. That is really bad. You just see 100. It's in Madhya Pradesh. 92. Lucknow, 133, of course. Gurgaon, the industrial areas, you can see 273. So these are the places where you got, see, Patiala, Punjab, now it is 313. So you can see the air pollution status and how it is being calculated, and all the statistics are there. These are very interesting site. If time permits, please do visit this to understand this. Or easily you can do one thing, you can install this app. Please install this app and see AQI India. There is an app called AQI India. There are many apps. I'm not promoting any apps. This is just to give you an experiential learning. Once you install and play with it, you will unknowingly learn many things. If possible, please do install this AQI India app. Okay, now coming back to our presentation. This is another topic which normally comes in air pollution. It is effect of air pollution on animals, plants, and property. Air pollutants has got various air pollutants has got various effects on human beings, animals, and properties, plants and animals. So, in human beings, I already mentioned some of the cases. Most of the cases, it will be affecting the lungs, respiratory system, and in India, one of the major cause of death is this respiratory infections. And for cattle, if you look at, if the air is not good, it will affect the animals also. If you run a dairy farm, you can see the difference. In a highly polluted place, if you conduct a dairy farm, you will see that there is a reduction in yield from cattle. So cattle cannot say that they have got a difficulty in breathing or they have got a respiratory tract irritation, they cannot say, but you can see that the yield will come down, and basically they may not take food properly, weight loss, all these things are some of the symptoms. And in the plants, visible things, if you have got a plant, I mean a tree in a highly polluted region, uh, uh, the yield will be less. If you have got agricultural land in a highly polluted area, yield will be less. What could happen is you can look at the leaf and there are some telltale signs of air pollution. One is necrosis, killing and collapse of tissue in the leaves. Leaves will get damaged. Then chlorosis, the chlorophyll amount in the leaf could reduce. Abscission, leaves could drop down. Epinestrative, downward curvature of leaves. These are in-depth analysis of effects of air pollution on leaves. These are some technical terms they use there. And toxic air pollution, this is a separate topic. For example, long back we had a tragedy in Bhopal. It was not a air pollution, it was a toxic air pollution. And I already mentioned the term primary and secondary air pollution. And there is a term smog. Smog means, in simple terms, smog is equal to smoke plus fog. Fog is a natural thing, and the fog and smoke combine together. In the presence of sunlight, you get smog. And you get photochemical smog. Photochemical smog means the chemical reaction happen as a result of sunlight passing through it, UV rays passing through it. These are some of the equations how it forms. Nitrogen dioxide and UV, you get NO plus O, nascent oxygen, plus oxygen, you get O3. O3, ozone, which is a air pollutant at the lower level. And the nascent oxygen will react again with the hydrocarbons, unburned hydrocarbons. When a diesel vehicle goes, there is some black color in the dust. They are unburned hydrocarbons. These hydrocarbons could react with this nascent oxygen, and you get some aldehydes. And hydrocarbons plus oxygen plus NO2, you get PAN. PAN is peroxyacetyl nitrates. This is highly irritating substance. And these chemicals can cause headache, eye, nose, throat irritation. It may cause the lung function impaired, coughing, wheezing. So almost all air pollutants, you can write this. It can cause rubber and fabrics to deteriorate. It can damage plants, leading to loss of crops. And air pollution, on property, some of the material will get corroded. The steel structures would get corroded in a polluted place. Or from natural air pollution, you can say a simplest example is, if you look at the iconic photograph or the statue Sphinx from Egypt. Whenever you think of Egypt, you have got the pyramids and the Sphinx. If you look at the face of Sphinx, the face may be cat or dog or whatever it is, but most of it is eroded because of the wind blasting over the face for a long time. So in the air, there is dust particles, there is sand particles. That is again air pollution, natural source. So over a period of time, erosion has taken place. Or you look at the Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal color is getting deteriorated. Effect of air pollution on property. And another topic, acid rain. The water with the pH values, rainwater with the pH values lower than 5.7 is called acid rain. Below 5.7, always rainwater will be slightly acidic. Slightly acidic in the sense, you may take rainwater in your place, you will see it will be around 6.8, 6.9 in that range, because the air there is carbon dioxide. When the water falls to the atmosphere, it will pick up some carbon dioxide and it will be slightly acidic in nature normally. So please remember, water which is absolutely pure is not found in nature. So even the raindrops are forming around a nucleus. It could be a dust particle. There itself, pollutants get in there. So once it is started falling through the air, it will pick up more dust, bacteria, and dissolved gases. So if there is gases like sulfur trioxide, you will get sulfuric acid. In highly industrialized regions, you get this acid rain when it is raining, but maybe during the first rain. But if it continuously rains, after some time, the rain will become all right. Then factors affecting this, the air pollution: sunlight, temperature, humidity, presence of hydrocarbons, nitrogen oxides, particulates, etc. And effects of acid rain: it will kill the vegetation, aquatic life, building materials. All these things could be affected. And automobiles and air pollution, another important topic, where an interesting statistics from Europe says that car-related pollution kills more people than car accidents. It is the saying like, if corona continues, the hunger could kill more people than corona. Likewise, the car-related pollution kills more people than car accidents. And these are the major pollutants from vehicles. And perhaps you would have heard of this. Recently, there was a news that the smoke, the pollution certificate for the automobiles, it is valid for 1 year rather than the presently what is given for 6 months. And there was a recent history of cheating with big names like Volkswagen. Long back, they made some adjustments in their engine in such a way that when they are testing it for emissions, it will give a lower value, because when you are testing it for emission, usually the vehicle will be stationary and you will be raising the engine. So they programmed it in such a way that in such a condition, the engine operating parameters are adjusted in such a way that emissions are reduced. Some kind of cheating, high-tech cheating. And these are the major air pollutants from automobiles: carbon monoxide, oxides of nitrogen, hydrocarbons, and benzene, and its effects. And of course, it could lead to formation of ozone and sometimes lead also. Now, one commonly found thing in air pollution control. Now we'll have a look at some of the air pollution controls. What is known as catalytic converter. Catalytic converter is used in automobiles to convert this carbon monoxide into carbon dioxide, and nitric oxide into nitrogen gas. Nitrogen gas is harmless. Carbon dioxide is also harmless. So basically, we'll have platinum and rhodium particles. So that is why the catalytic converters are expensive. It contains some rare elements. It will convert carbon monoxide to carbon dioxide and nitric oxide to nitrogen. And the reactions. And this you can leave out. And I'll just quickly go through the air pollution control technologies also. Air pollution control technologies may be classified into two categories. One is for suspended particulate matter. That is any dust particles. It could be sand particles, it could be carbon particle, it could be hydrocarbon particle, it could be lead particle. Anything suspended particulate matter, you can have a set of pollutant removing mechanism. Another one is gaseous pollutants. It could be carbon monoxide, oxides of nitrogen, sulfur dioxide, whatever it is. Gaseous pollutants, how to remove. So if it is suspended particulate matter, the coarse suspended particulate matter could be removed by a settling chamber, or a cyclone separator, or a filter, fabric filter, or electrostatic precipitator to remove the finest of dust particles, and wet collector, a scrubber. These are the things which could be used for removing suspended particulate matter. And gaseous pollutants has to be removed by condensation, absorption, adsorption, and combustion. Some of the gaseous pollutants could be combustible. Then in that case, you can burn it and convert it into carbon dioxide. And of course, wet collectors also could be useful for this. And this is a typical construction of a bag filter. Usually in cement manufacturing industry, you will see bag filters, you will see electrostatic precipitates. These are some of the biggest structures which will be appearing near the cement industry. If you go, I'm sure you would have learned about cement manufacturing. You will have a rotary kiln, which will be, making the clinker, then the powdering mills. But near all these things, there will be huge structures, which will be basically bag filters and electrostatic precipitators. And how does the electrostatic precipitator work? Now, maybe within the limited time, I may not be able to tell you. And there is something called cyclone separators. This is another mechanism for removing dust particles. For example, a coffee powder making place, fine dust which is coming out could be removed. by the dirty gas enters here, it goes in a cyclonic motion. Because of that because of the centrifugal force, the dust particles will hit here and fall down, whereas the clean gas will go out. That is a cyclonic separator. Whereas in bag filter, the polluted air gets in, and here are the bags. So only the clean air will get in and go out, and all the dust will get accumulated on this bag. And once in a while, the bag has to be cleaned. For that, you will pump in the air in the reverse direction with high pressure, so that all the attached dust particles will fall down. Okay, these are some of the features of air pollution. Some of the things I left out in air pollution are, one is effect of how do you collect samples for air pollution? You want to collect dust particles, how do you collect? How do you collect carbon monoxide or sulfur dioxide from the atmosphere? That is sampling analysis. Because in the air pollution index, how do you find out how much air pollutant is there in the atmosphere? That is another one section which we left out. And another interesting thing is like the dissipation of pollutants in the atmosphere. That's a complex area. For example, there was long back, there was an accident in USA where somebody died, and the case went to the court. Then the driver claimed that there was a smog, visibility was low because of the air pollutant which was coming from an industry that is a 30 kilometer away. Was it possible? Then scientifically you can prove that given the atmospheric condition, given the wind velocity, given the what is known as the ambient lapse rate persisting there, you can model the air pollutant dissipation, and you can say where the air pollutant, how much will be there. Or the simplest example is, you would have seen the smoke coming out of the chimney. You see here, the smoke is coming out, but some cases you will see the smoke is going upward. Sometimes you will see it will be coming in a zigzag way. Sometimes it will be coming down. Sometimes it will be going horizontally. Sometimes it will be going at an angle. It all depends on the persisting atmospheric condition. At what rate, what is the ambient lapse rate and what is its relation between adiabatic lapse rate, and what is the wind velocity existing there. Based on that, the plume which is coming out will have a different pattern. It could be coning, looping, fumigating, and all, depending upon the atmospheric condition persisting. That is another interesting topic in air pollution, which I think we don't have to touch upon now. But for the time being, please remember what definition of air pollution, classification of air pollutants, a few important air pollutants, and its effects on human beings. Effects on human beings for all air pollutants, I think you can write the same thing. The easiest thing to remember is the things written here. Effects of air pollutant, these things you can note down. And I will make a consolidated note and give you. In case if they ask about photochemical smoke or acid rain, which is also coming under air pollution, you should be able to write something. And similarly, what is air quality index? In the examination, they may not ask, but as a individual, as an engineer, you should know what is air quality index. For that, if possible, please do install the app and explore it, and you will understand more. So air pollution is a huge subject in itself, which we cannot deal it in few minutes. But I just touched upon some of the elements. I am sure you would have already learned a little bit about it. So with the notes which I give you and the PowerPoint, I hope you will be able to make it for the examination. And now 5 more minutes. Okay, you have got any questions on this or any discussion? I think I got 5 minutes time now. Anybody has got any questions? Anything not clear? I'm sure many things are not clear. Any concern you are having, please tell me.